afternoon, Cory.
Hey, what's up, man?
I guess just what's your kind of what are you kind of feeling at this point in time? Obviously, fight night's a few days away. How's the fight camp been? How's the weight cut?
Yeah, fight camp was great. Didn't get sick, didn't have any weird injuries or anything, so I don't want to be one of those guys that jinxes myself. But fight camp was great. I feel like I'm better than I've ever been. Everything's really clicking with me, and yeah, Saturday night I think it's going to be the best performance that I've ever had, and I can't wait.
What does it mean to fight about two and a half hours away from Manchester, Iowa? Obviously, your dad's from there. Is this kind of a different feeling? I know this is your 15th UFC fight as well. Is this kind of a different feeling coming in here in Des Moines?
Yeah, definitely. Iowa kind of feels like my second home a little bit, seeing that I've spent hours and hours and hours driving through it as like a kid. But yeah, I mean, Dad's from Manchester. Colorado used to feel a lot like the Midwest, so I'm like a really big fan of the Midwest and kind of slower and quieter and nicer and stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited to fight in Iowa.
I know we spoke a few weeks ago on a Zoom call, and I asked you about working at a trauma center your first couple fights. Just kind of get into more of that, man, if you don't mind. What was kind of your role working at a trauma center, and what do you kind of take away from that time? Because obviously it's not the easiest job, like I mentioned last time. And I know you mentioned therapeutic techniques and whatnot. What are some of the therapeutic techniques that you use now as a fighter at this current age?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, I always really liked working with kids. It was like my thing. It's what I wanted to do when I grew up. I also grew up in a part of Colorado that was like, there was like a lot of different kinds of people, but a lot of people that were just had more than other people. And I didn't grow up wealthy by any means, but I had more than some of my other friends, and my other friends were kind of in really bad situations, and so I kind of always had like a soft spot in my heart for people, like kids that just didn't ask for their situation. So that kind of put me on the road to wanting to do something in social work or some type of counseling, something for kids. So when I went to school for that and graduated with my psych degree, I obviously needed something to do to, pay for the bills in between, trying to make it to where I'm actually making money to where I don't have to work, chasing MMA. So yeah, I started working at a place called Mount St. Vincent's, learned a ton about just, psychology, myself, people, kids, all of that stuff. But the work was fun most of the time, and the kids, yeah, I mean, they just come from histories of trauma, so they just need more help a little bit in life, and I'm really grateful that I was just able to, give them some of that.
How does that connect with your fighting life? Do you kind of use, I guess, some of the techniques that you've, I guess, shared with them to kind of, I guess, balance things as a fighter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had to teach them self-awareness, and I was 22 without any self-awareness, so I had to kind of learn how to do that. So that helped me for sure. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm not really like a sports guy. I'm not really like a macho fighter guy. I'm like a martial artist. Like, life is fighting, and fighting is life to me. And any way, like I do the same thing when I'm coaching guys. I work pretty closely with a lot of guys that, I get a lot out of just from being able to help them, and that's just kind of in my nature, I guess, a little bit, for all the good and the bad of that. But yeah, that's just kind of a part of the martial arts way, or like trying to, just be a good person, I guess, whatever that means, but I'm just trying to do that.
How would you describe, I guess, your experiences in Manchester, right? Maybe not many people would know where Manchester, Iowa is on the map, but how would you kind of describe, I guess, the memories and the trips down there?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot going on. They had like a really nice pool, so we liked to go into the pool. And then they had like one pizza buffet, so we would like going to the pizza buffet. But I like the Midwest because it feels like a little bit sometimes of a forgotten part of the world, because we're all into like super exciting shit because all of our attention spans suck. But the Midwest is just like a cool area because it's just slower, and it feels like you're taking a step back in time a little bit, which is cool. And that's like my dad coming from a really small town like Manchester, and it was a lot smaller, obviously, 30 years ago when we were going there. So yeah, it's just fun. It's just like a cool part. It always felt like I was traveling to some like weird ass place that was like didn't have any people in it.
this is my last question for you, man. How would you just describe Figueiredo as an opponent, and what do you kind of expect from him on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, Figueiredo's a really game guy. I think that he's like a fighter's fighter, which I really dig, and I feel like I can relate big time to. He's tough. I always described it, even before we were matched up to fight, as like, what Figueiredo doesn't really make sense, but it somehow works, you know? And those are sometimes the most dangerous guys. He's a guy that's going to hunt for a knockout and he's going to hunt for a submission the whole time. And those are his paths to victory, and I'm very good at not letting either one of those things happen. So I think when it comes to who's going to be the more well-rounded guy, who's going to wrestle better, who's going to do jiu-jitsu better, who's going to strike better, and not just like strike like, I'm talking like control all of those areas. I can be the guy that controls all of those areas. And like I said, man, I'm better than ever right now. I've never felt like I have the actual skills to be a champion more than I do right now. And Saturday night, I'm super pumped to put on the best performance of my life, win this fight, win it impressively, ask for my title shot, and then hopefully land in a little bit of luck where there will be no one else that they have, and be the guy that fights for the belt next.
Thanks, Cory.
Thanks.
Cory, right here. Davison was in here earlier, and we'd asked him, had he seen kind of the funny skits and things that you were doing, and we wanted to get his response to it, and he kind of said something along the lines of, I don't know if I have that side of me anymore. I feel like the funny side of me has gone and been passed down to Cory.
Okay.
And he says, I'm going in there on Saturday, and I'm looking for nothing but blood in there. There's no jokes. So
Cool.
what's your response to that?
Hell yeah, let's do it. One of my favorite parts of fighting is that I get to be violent as fuck, and it's allowed. Like, it gives me the chills even just thinking about it, because I'm not allowed to do that. Like, even in training, you're not allowed to fully do that. So, like, if he wants blood, there will be blood, you know, like, that excites me. So, I don't know about the passing the funny side stuff or whatever, but if he wants blood, yeah, let's make blood.
And then a fight that you talked about in the past, but it never, like, obviously you're not going to get the chance to do it anymore. Is there any part of you that's like, man, I really wish I could have got that fight with Dominic Cruz before he retired?
Yeah, absolutely. There was always kind of like, hey, we're going to try to do you and Cruz, we're going to try to do you and Cruz. And yeah, it never happened. It sucks that it never happened. It's always one that I really wanted to have, but yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have that fight. I really looked up to Cruz growing up. Even when I watch my old fights, I'm like, damn, I look like Dominic Cruz. You know, I've changed a lot since then, but yeah, always looked up to that guy.
And then there's an old Instagram post you had. It was like, I think it was a quote that you put out there. I just wanted to get kind of your side of it. It said, it was a picture of you, and you said, kind of funny living in our head with all these things, patterns we don't like, habits we want to break, insecurities that stop us from our dreams. Then there's that dude that watches these voices, trying to change them, be better, whatever that means. The higher self, still a self though, and then you go, gotta go deep in there to know what's right, past the monkey brain, past the hormones, past the voices, past your beliefs, into the quiet. Can you expand on that one a little bit for me?
Yeah, sure. It's always really embarrassing when people read those things out loud, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of just the shit, I guess, that I think about. You know, I like writing. I like human nature. I like trying to figure out like what life and existence means, and you spend enough time thinking about that shit, and it'll take you in some really like deep directions. And yeah, I think that the world is kind of about manifesting right now. It's about acquiring more things, and maybe it always has been, but it feels a little bit more in our face now. But there's a lot of like old ancient religions and old ancient texts that talk about letting go of things and surrendering things, and detaching yourself from what we think that we all are. And I'm kind of more in that direction of philosophy than I am about trying to be the world's most awesome #1 everything, you know. So but there's balance in that, you know. Like I live in a very competitive world. I'm at the gym 6 days a week, like fighting people and competing against them at all times. So I kind of just need to restore balance in myself sometimes, and balance in my soul sometimes, of just me having to be like, hey dude, like you don't matter any more than the birds flying around chirping sometimes too. So yeah, it's just that dichotomy of being a person, I guess.
Hey, Cory. You recently started your comedy vlog series. Are you happy with the positive reception that you got online?
I think that they're positive. Honestly, I don't read any comments because they make me stop being myself when I do like interviews and videos and shit. So, but my video guide tells me that people are liking them or whatever. So that's why I wanted to do them, man, is because I'm kind of an intense guy. I like even this week, anytime things start to get too much fun or whatever, in the back of my head, I always have, hey man, I've seen people get fucking knocked out and taken out on stretchers and jaws broken in half and arm and legs broken and stuff. So, I mean, I've been around in the sport long enough to like not have too much fun at any of this shit and just be kind of a little bit intense the entire time. But yeah, the videos are just kind of me fucking showing a side of me that isn't so damn intense and fucking flat like how I am now. So yeah, that was just that. And I think that really stupid, silly shit is really funny. And now, like, everyone's kind of sarcastic and cool guy funny, but I think that, like, just stupid, silly shit is so funny.
Yeah, it seems like people really like your sense of humor.
Thanks.
You'll be facing a former world champion in Figueiredo. What have you thought about him since moving up to the weight class?
Yeah, I mean, he fights a little bit different at 35. He wrestles more. He doesn't really have the ability to be like a power bully as much at 35 as he does at 25. So those are kind of the main changes that I see in him moving up in the division. But I mean, he's still definitely a really dangerous guy. I mean, he's still taking really tough fights. Yeah, I mean, I take pride in being the guy in the division that people are like, well, what do I get out of beating that guy? And it's like, well, you don't get much, like I think that it makes me a little bit scary to fight sometimes because I'm not this like quote unquote star or whatever. Like there's no like reputation giant boost that you get from beating me. I know that I'm in a different situation now, like I kind of am now, but not like compared to some of these guys that have like major followings because they're from a different country or whatever. So I like being the guy where it's like, no, why would I fight that guy? I'm just gonna fight that guy and maybe win and maybe lose. I like being that guy. So Figgy's obviously game. Like I said before, he's a fighter's fighter and he shows up and he fights hard and he's experienced and I think he's a phenomenal fighter and I'm super stoked about the challenge.
And then there's been a lot of talk online about whether 100 men can defeat one silverback gorilla.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that debate?
Yeah, this is weird because I was just asked this for the first time. I haven't heard this before. I think if you're gonna, I definitely would need 100 of me, but 100 is kind of a lot. I don't know how we'd win. My go-to would probably be a bunch of trying to kick him in the nuts as many times as I could, and then probably poke him in the eye. Everything that I could do that would be illegal in a fight, I'd probably try to do to the gorilla, and hopefully he wouldn't rip and kill too many of myself, I guess.
Thanks, Cory.
Thanks.
All good? Perfect. Thank you very much.
See you guys.